morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss the PA catheter. First we go through the history. In the 1929, Dr. Werner Forsman inserted a catheter into his own forearm and he established that right heart catheterization is feasible in humans. In the 1930, to find the practical ways to use Dr. Forsman's invention of heart catheter, Dr. Andrew Conrad and Dr. Dickinson Richards developed the catheter to measure right-sided pressure. They were able not only to penetrate the right atrium and the right ventricle, but also to push further into pulmonary artery, but required the fluoroscopic guidance for its placement. Balloon flotation flow directed catheter that can be used at the bedside were introduced by Dr. Jeremy Swan and Dr. William Gange in 1970. This catheter permitted the clinician to measure pulmonary artery and the pulmonary artery wedge pressure without fluoroscopic guidance. This figure showing the PA catheter, the standard PA catheter available in 7 to 9 French in size, and it is about 110 cm long, marked every 10 cm and contain 4 to 5 lumen. The yellow lumen is the distal lumen which is used for the PA pressure monitoring, and the blue lumen is used for the CVP monitoring or IV fluid administration and drug administration, and it is approximately 30 cm proximal to the PA catheter tip. And the upper red one is thermistor port, which contain the fine wires which lead to temperature thermistor just proximal to the balloon, and the lower red one is the balloon inflation port, which is used to inflate the balloon with 1.5 ml of air, and some PA catheter contain fifth port for the RA infusion port, which is used for the drug administration or can be used for pacing of the right ventricle. Procedure, the consideration for the PA catheter insertion site is same as the CVP insertion site, but most commonly right IJV is preferred site as it provides direct route to the right atrium. Before attempting the PA catheter insertion, we have to check all lumen, and balloon is tested by 1.5 ml of air for its symmetry of expansion and the patency. The pressure line should be connected to the distal port, and the tip of the PA catheter is held at heart level, and recorded pressure should be 0 mm mercury, so that we can confirm the correct position of transducer at the beginning of procedure. The gentle curvature of PA catheter should be oriented to 11 o'clock position because it help in negotiating the tricuspid valve, which is anteromedially located. The passage of PA catheter from the introducer to PA pulmonary artery is achieved by monitoring pressure waveform or under TE guidance. So, when the PA catheter enter in the right atrium, the CVP waveform will appear, and here we inflate the balloon. Then we advance the PA catheter further. When the PA catheter enter in the right ventricle, the systolic pressure will be increases. Then we further advance the PA catheter. And along with the systolic, diastolic pressure will increases when the PA catheter enter into the pulmonary artery. From here, we slightly advance the catheter and it become wedge, and the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure waveform will appear on the monitor. We can also notice that when the catheter enter into the right ventricle, during the diastole pressure will be increases, while in pulmonary artery during the diastole pressure will be reduces. When we use the right IJV approach, right atrium is entered at the 20 to 25 cm, right ventricle entered at 30 to 35 cm, pulmonary artery at 40 to 45 cm, and pulmonary artery occlusion pressure at 45 to 55 cm in most of the patients. When other sites are chosen for PA catheter placement, additional distance is required for 5 to 10 cm from the left IJV, 15 cm from the femoral vein, and 30 to 35 cm from the antecubital vein. Troubleshooting while doing the PA catheter insertion. If RV waveform is not observed after 40 cm of catheter insertion, then there may be possibility of coiling of catheter in the right atrium. So we have to deflate the balloon and catheter withdraw to 20 cm, and Trendelenburg position places right ventricle more superior to right atrium. So it will help in passage of PA catheter to the right ventricle. Suppose if PA waveform is not observed after 50 cm, again we have to deflate the balloon and withdraw the catheter up to 20 cm, and then we should give the reverse Trendelenburg position and the right lateral tilt. This position will help the catheter to negotiate the RVOT and the pulmonary valve and to enter the pulmonary artery. PA catheter must be withdrawn a short distance, or we have to observe the pressure waveform whenever we inflate the balloon to see pulmonary artery occlusion pressure, because whenever we inflate the balloon, the tip of the PA catheter advances to small pulmonary artery, or over period of time pulmonary artery catheter becomes soft and advance more peripherally. And during CPB, due to the decreased size of the heart, catheter may migrate distally into the small pulmonary artery. So whenever this condition occur, we have to closely monitor the pressure waveform, and if the wedging occur, or if pulmonary arterial wedging occur, we have to withdraw the catheter for a short distance. Now come to the principles of measuring pulmonary artery occlusion pressure. Now why we want to measure the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure? The idea behind the measuring the pulmonary arterial occlusion pressure is it is an indirect estimate of LV and diastolic pressure, the closest surrogate to LV and diastolic volume, which is the true LV preload. The pulmonary artery diastolic pressure can be used as an alternative to pulmonary artery occlusion pressure to estimate LV filling pressure. However, this is acceptable under normal circumstances when pulmonary venous resistance is low. The pressure in the pulmonary artery at the end diastole will equilibrate with the downstream pressure in the pulmonary veins and the left atrium. From a monitoring standpoint, pulmonary artery diastolic pressure has the added advantage of being available for continuous monitoring, whereas pulmonary artery wedge pressure is only measured intermittently. So, if pulmonary artery occlusion pressure indirectly reflect the LV and diastolic pressure, so when we inflate the balloon, the inflated balloon isolate the distal pulmonary artery orifice from the upstream pulmonary arterial pressure, and it form the continuous static column of blood which connect the distal PA orifice to the pulmonary vein and the LA junction. Thus, it reflect the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure reflect the LA pressure and the LV and diastolic pressure. To accurately reflect the LA pressure and the LV and diastolic pressure, the tip of the PA catheter should reside in the waist zone 3 of the lung. Because if you see the zone 1 and zone 2, in zone 1 alveolar pressure is higher than the pulmonary arterial pressure, and in zone 2 although pulmonary arterial pressure is higher than the alveolar pressure, but still alveolar pressure is higher than the pulmonary venous pressure. So if the catheter tip is reside in either zone 1 or zone 2, it more reflectly alveolar pressure rather than the LA pressure. So we should reside this PA catheter tip at the in the zone 3. This figure showing the relationship between all these parameters. The LV and diastolic volume is related to the LV and diastolic pressure by LV compliance, and the LV and diastolic pressure related to LA pressure by the mitral wall condition, and the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure related to the LA pressure by the airway pressure and pulmonary vascular resistance. So to maintain to ensure the accurate relationship, the patentiovascular channel between the distal orifice of the pulmonary artery to LA pressure is very important, so that it reflect the accurate LV and diastolic volume. Conditions resulting in discrepancy between the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure and the LVDP. The condition where the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure overestimate the LVDP are positive pressure ventilation, high level of PEEP. As PEEP reduces the size of waist zone 3, so it adversely affect the correlation between the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure and the LA pressure. Another condition which overestimate the LVDP are increased intrathoracic pressure, non-waist lung zone 3 PA catheter placement, COPD, increased PVR, LA myxoma and the mitral valve disease. condition which underestimate the LVDP, where the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure underestimate the LVDP, are non-compliant AV, which can seen in myocardial ischemia or LV hypertrophy, or in patient with the aortic regurgitation. What happen in aortic regurgitation? Because of AR, there is premature closure of mitral valve. That's why the pulmonary artery occlusion pressure will underestimate the LVDP in patient with the aortic regurgitation. Now, what does PA catheter tell us? The direct measurement we can do from the PA catheter are CVP, pulmonary artery pressure, pulmonary artery occlusion pressure, and mixed venous oxygen saturation. And we can calculate the data like stroke volume, cardiac output, vascular resistance, systemic and the pulmonary vascular resistance, and the oxygen delivery. This table showing the derived hemodynamic parameter like cardiac index, stroke volume, stroke index, LV stroke work index, SVR, PVR. So, by this parameter we can rule out the underlying cause of hemodynamic instability. This table showing the oxygen delivery parameters, arterial oxygen content, oxygen delivery, oxygen consumption, and by this we can identify, by this we can assess the overall oxygenation status of the patient, and also we can assume the myocardial oxygen delivery. Now come to the abnormal pulmonary artery and the pressure waveform. If PA catheter is longer and passes through the cardiac chamber, so it is prone for distortion from the air bubbles and the blood clot, as well as prone for the motion artifact. So, the most common motion artifact is the artificial pressure peak that will lead to the incorrect measurement of the pulmonary artery diastolic pressure. You can see here that the pulmonary artery diastolic pressure is 0, while the correct pulmonary artery diastolic pressure is 8 to 10 millimeter mercury. So, this artifact occurred because the catheter reside in the right ventricle, and at the onset of systole, when the right ventricle start to contract, that lead to excessive catheter motion, and that excessive catheter motion will produce this artifact. So, whenever this artifact occurs, we have to reposition the catheter. The another common artifact is the overweighting of the PA catheter. This overweighting of the PA catheter occur because whenever we inflate the balloon, so sometime it may distally migrate into the small pulmonary artery, or during CPB it may be distally migrated. So, you can see here when we inflate the balloon, it will produce non-pulsatile increasing pressure. So, this we deflate the balloon and withdraw the catheter, and then we again inflate the balloon, and pulmonary capillary wedge pressure tracing will reappear. You can see in this figure, due to the mitral regurgitation, there is a large V wave in the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure tracing. The upper one pulmonary capillary wedge pressure tracing is normal. So, this due to presence of this V wave causes changes in the PA pressure waveform also, that lead to widening of the PA pressure and loss of dicrotic notch. In mitral stenosis, we can see in the PA pressure waveform, there is a increased pulmonary artery wedge pressure and the attenuated wide descent. Due to the myocardial ischemia, as the myocardial ischemia lead to the diastolic dysfunction, so there is a slightly elevated pulmonary artery wedge pressure and the large A wave and the V wave. By this we can identify the myocardial ischemia by observing these changes in the pulmonary artery wedge pressure tracing. The positive pressure mechanical ventilation also influence the pulmonary arterial pressure. If positive pressure ventilation increases the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary artery wedge pressure, so we have to measure the pulmonary artery pressure at the end diastole, at the end expiration, to correctly measure the pulmonary arterial pressure. Now, coming to the indication of the PA catheter, major procedures involving large fluid shift or blood loss in patient with right-sided heart failure, pulmonary hypertension, severe left-sided heart failure not responsive to therapy, cardiogenic or septic shock, orthotopic heart transplantation, left ventricular assist device implantation. Contraindication. Absolute contraindications are severe tricuspid or pulmonary stenosis, right atrial or right ventricular mass, or tetralogy of Fallot. Relative contraindications are severe arrhythmia, left bundle branch block, newly inserted pacemaker wires, and severe coagulopathy. Complications are arrhythmia. Arrhythmia is the most common complication of the PA catheter. If we give the reverse Trendelenburg position and the right lateral tilt, it will decrease the risk of arrhythmia. Second complication is complete heart block. Another complication can occur is endobronchial hemorrhage. The incidence of the endobronchial hemorrhage in one large series was 0.064 to 0.20%, although it is very rare but associated with the high mortality rate. Risk factors including pulmonary arterial hypertension, coagulopathy, distal migration of the catheter, and balloon hyperinflation. Treatment consists of tilting the patient toward the affected side, double lumen tube, and strategies to stop the bleeding include application of PEEP, placement of the bronchial blocker, or pulmonary resection. Another complication can happen during the PA catheter insertion is pulmonary infarction. It is because of the distal migration of the PA catheter. And to prevent this, continuous monitoring of the PA waveform is very important, and keeping the balloon deflated. Another complication is catheter knotting and the entrapment, and this catheter knotting occurs because of coiling of the catheter within the right ventricle. The treatment consists of insertion of the appropriate size guide wire under fluoroscopic guidance for unknotting the catheter, or knot may be tightened and withdrawn percutaneously along with the introducer if no cardiac structures are entangled. Due to the PA catheter insertion, valvular damage may occur, thrombocytopenia or risk of balloon rupture may also occur. Sometimes the PA catheter insertion may cause RV perforation, and the another complication is artifacts and the erroneous measurement. Cardiac output monitoring. Apart from its pressure monitoring capability of the PA catheter, one of the more important features of PA catheter is its ability to measure cardiac output via the thermodilution method. Cardiac output is the amount of blood delivered to the tissue by heart in each minute. Cardiac output measurement reflects the status of the entire circulatory system because it is governed by the autoregulation from the tissue. The major determinant of cardiac outputs are preload, afterload, heart rate, and contractility. So, most commonly used method for invasively measuring cardiac output in the clinical setting from the PA catheter is thermodilution method. The principle of the thermodilution is known amount of cold fluid is injected into right atrium, and resulting temperature change is detected by the thermistor in the pulmonary artery, and it is calculated by the modified Stewart-Hamilton equation. A computer that integrates the area under the temperature versus time curve is used to perform the calculation. Cardiac output is inversely proportional to the area under the curve. Factors affecting the accuracy of this system are temperature of the injected, speed and amount of injected volume, and technical errors such as the fluid administration during the cardiac output measurement. Now come to the special purpose pulmonary artery catheter. New technology applied to the PA catheter monitoring allow continuous cardiac output monitoring with the warm thermal indicator. This PA catheter contains 10 cm thermal filament that is incorporated into the right ventricular portion of the PA catheter. The another subtype of PA catheter is the pacing PA catheter. Electrode coated PA catheter and the pacing wire catheters are available, and they are indicated in patients who have sinus node dysfunction, symptomatic bradycardia, second degree heart block, and left bundle branch block. Now come to the pulmonary artery catheterization outcome controversy. The main advantage of PA catheter are allow continuous tracking of hemodynamic variable, which is valuable in critically ill high risk patient with circulatory dysfunction. Measurement of cardiac output can differentiate shock state into hypovolemic shock or cardiogenic shock or distributive etiology. Via measurement of the cardiac output and the left and right filling pressure, it can separate out predominantly right ventricle or left ventricular dysfunction or either global dysfunction. For RV dysfunction, the PA catheter allow distinction of the RV dysfunction predominantly related to increased afterload versus dysfunction related mostly to the pump failure, high CVP, and the low PA pressure. Despite this advantage, the PA catheter has stimulated a great deal of controversy. It is an expensive, invasive technique that is widely used but is still not proven to improve patient outcome. A study published by the Connors and the Associate in 1996 reported that PA catheter monitored patients in the ICU had 20% increased mortality, increased length of hospital stay, and incurred increased cost. Thereafter, various studies also showed that PA catheter have little or no positive impact on patient outcome. However, several recent non-randomized studies were able to demonstrate a clinical benefit from the PA catheter use. The PA catheter use must be tailored to the degree of risk for the patient and the risk posed by the procedure itself. Thank you.